Welcome to another segment of Bridging the Gap, where conversations cracking our society will be discussed. Today we're focusing on child labor. Around the world, children are denied the means of survival and exploitation. Children who are supposed to be in school, supposed to be in classroom, are seen on the street, hugging, selling water, doing different menial jobs that children their age are not supposed to do. And instead of being in the playground, they endure factories and field labor. They go to different construction sites to carry sand, carry stones, cement, whatever labor that is not meant for them. And according to a global report from organizations like International Labour Organization and UNICEF, child labor represents a persistent crisis, especially in vulnerable communities where poverty, lack of access to education, and weak labor protection is insert. Today, we'll be looking at, is child labor purely a symptom of poverty, or is it a failure of system designed to protect the most vulnerable? And is it about the culture, economy, and policy complicated in this whole situation? To help us discuss on this, I have with me a guest in the studio, Kings Ojalo. We'll go on a break now. When we return, we'll go into the discussion proper. And I am Kasitoni. It's a pleasure having you, Ojalo.
Thank you so much, Cassie, for having me, and it's my pleasure being here.
Thank you for joining us. So our center of our discussion is on child labor.
Yeah, child labor.
In some region, they will say child labor is helping the family. That's what they'll discuss it. But it's not really far from the truth, because it reflects on the way we dress, the food we eat, the water we drink, and sometimes the technology that we use.
Yes.
Child labor is not really far from what the society or some region define it to be. But I want you to tell us in your own context what child labor is.
Just brief definition, is a kind of a multifaceted global issues that really affect well-being of underage children, minors, who find themselves in a situation probably, are not in line with
when you talk about underage and minors, what age are we looking at?
We're looking at age 10, it's probably age 9, 10, we're looking at age 15, probably to 20, you understand, who engage themselves in monetization that, sometimes might really affect their well-being, you understand, looking at the kind of situation they find themselves, or the kind of situation they are forced into. You understand? Now, child labor is brought into many factors. You understand? Sometimes they find themselves into it, sometimes they are forced into it, and most times they are lured into it. You understand? Depriving them of their own pleasantry, and also of the system of their well-being.
So what is the real cause of this child labor?
Sometimes we'll start with the basic, the primary, the popular actual cause of why child labors are easily found in most society, which is sometimes poverty and poverty crisis and stuff like that. Most times not everyone is born with how do they say it, a silver spoon or a golden spoon.
Not everyone is born with a golden spoon. Most
minors and children who find themselves in some devastated situation, unable to have 3 square meals, may sometimes find themselves engaged in 1 or 2 hefty activities that it might not be really conducive for their system and their well-being.
Heavy activities, like, is it carrying off.
You just as you highlighted earlier on. Okay. You understand. Okay, example. Let me use one of the areas. I happen to stay in Lagos, a Mushin environment. If you go to Mushin today, Betmikesi, you see a whole lot of underage minor children who engage themselves in some heavy multitask activities. You'll be wondering, like, are these children, or are they kind of dwarfed, who are grown up and in form of a child, their status?
Yeah.
But unfortunately they are underage. You're talking about age 9, age 8, going about carrying some heavy tasks even beyond their own capacity. You understand? I, as an adult, I could engage myself in some multitasking that I know, yes, it depends on my strength. But when a child, a minor, you understand, engages such, then that is a form of child laboring, you understand, which might really affect the well-being of that child and might not even be more conducive for their health. You understand? So that is one. And another one, demanding cheap labor. You understand? A child out of probably situation affecting the family or economic situation might choose to say, okay, instead of me just
being
idle, instead of me not, nothing is working in the family, nothing is working, let me
drop out of school.
Exactly. Even when you are in school and there's no source of income in the family, how do you tend to sustain your schooling activities? So the child
sometimes I see these children, they come back from school, rather than going to the house to rest their head, they'll go to the market
because they know
to help their parents, or even hawk on the street.
Helping parents is not a that is I don't think that is even child labor.
Okay.
That is one of the primary assignment for any responsible child. Normally, you have to help mom and dad in one or two activities. But when the child is being, forced, when it's being, lured that, okay, it's something that probably might not be relevant for his status at that period.
Against their will.
Yes, he or she must have to go and do it. You understand? Just because he wants to sustain the family and the well-being of the family. There are some family, mom and dad doesn't have what it takes to earn a living. But a child, due to he just want to do something to unravel a poverty from the family, to make sure he gets, 3 square meals, or make sure there's food to eat for a particular time. He has to, you understand? Example, you go to some sites, to some block sites, you see children raising blocks, going to some uncompleted building site, and thereby you see some underage children carrying pans of sand on their head. So what are we talking about? Which we know that is not the hygiene activity of a minor at that age, at that particular time.
So the major cause of this child labor one is poverty.
Yes, that is one, and there are so many other causes of child labor. But poverty is the major reason. Sometimes economic shake. Okay, example, like countries like Pakistan, you see with the war raveling that country and that economy, you see children who are being chased away from their from their homes. Some of them lost their parents. Some of them, their parents were misplaced, and a child is forcefully separated from there due to the disaster, bomb blast, and thereabout. Definitely, a child when totally separated from the family, we find himself, he or herself, in another location. We have to make sure he does one or two, just to survive, and those things might not be hygiene for his or her health. So you see, that is another cause. You understand? And lastly, for children who are not privileged, to
come from a wealthy home.
From a wealthy home, or probably those, let me use the word orphans who are not addressed to an orphanage home or thereabout, probably find themselves in the hands of, an individual who is not hygiene for that child. What do I mean? An individual who might not want to carry the child along positively. We have a whole lot of guidance. Even let me start with guidance. A whole lot of guidance. Probably, I'm going to the village to go and pick Amaka, for example. I'm going to pick Amaka.
And they end up maltreating the child.
She gets to the guardian gets to the mom's and that the parents' house, or promising all kind of things. A whole lot of children currently in our society are being victim of this thing. I want to tell you, a whole lot. They go to the village, they take some children from their parents, promising them heaven, and don't worry, when your child gets to Lagos, or when he gets to Port Harcourt or any commercial city, he or she will put in school, will be well taken care of. But when the child is taken away from the parents and come to the city with our uncle or auntie, it turns the other way around. The reverse is the case. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so such such child most times are being forced into hard labor. You understand? Not having a leisure time for themselves. They can't sleep. You understand? Especially those who, most especially those who probably lost their parents. On the long run, they are highly victimized of this situation.
And we all know that child labor has a lot of psychological problems attached to it. So what are the psychological traumas that?
Yes, one of it is one of it is being neglected. When a child faces such thing, he is being neglected. Okay, let me use myself. I will bring a little brief of my own story. Let me use myself for example. I was not privileged to know my mom until she died. Yes. Yes. My mom stayed. We departed for a very long time. I didn't even get to know her. Until she died. Until I was told she died. You understand? On the long run in Germany. But fortunately, I stayed with aunts. Even my dad was not even that responsible to be a father to take care of his child. So on the long run, when you are in the midst of probably, though my grandma was there, but I didn't get to stay with my grandma all through my lifetime. You understand? Even being with grandmom, some grandmoms, in most cases, they are not still. So that is why there's a popular saying that say there is nothing like being with your family, with your mom and dad. Yes, I think that saying is absolutely correct. You understand? So when you are in the midst of some aunties, some uncles and people who extended families, who might not really show that concern, you feel this neglected. Sometimes they tend to help you. Yes, they tend to help you, but on the long run, that helping tend to be a repercussion. They might use it against you. Why? Because you are not their biological child. So I experienced such thing, and most children in our society today are experiencing such.
So how did it affect you psychologically?
Of course, that neglect. I felt, I'm being pushed to the wall. I'm being neglected because most times they criticize me. They criticize me not because I did something drastic, not because I did something wrong, but because I'm not from their gene. I'm not from their blood.
And because sometimes you can be with your peers and they're talking about their parents and you be feeling that I don't have a mother.
No, you see, in that case, I as a person, I took it upon myself that nothing will move me, but it's not like that in most other cases in the life of our children. But I was determined, you understand, because I knew my condition, so I had to follow suit. But in the platform of other external families, I'm talking about aunties, because I stayed with all of my aunties, and I saw, they, just like I said, they tend to help you in terms of some finance, but when it comes to trying to accommodate you wholeheartedly with their full mind, that is impossible. You understand? That is impossible because no one is a saint. Let's be honest here.
Yes.
So a lot of children, a lot of minors face this situation currently, most especially in our society today. You understand? And when a child feels neglect, he has this psychological trauma. He tends to derive that kind of manner himself if he's not properly taught, properly controlled. Yes, when he's not properly taught by good clergy people, he might want to also display that attitude on the long run on other upcoming minors or individual that comes his or her way. So it depends. So that is why that's why it's my advice to guardians. Please, whoever you find yourself, whoever find his or herself in your custody, you should try and accommodate that person well, so that it will reflect to the next generation continuously.
All right, so we know that there are some government agencies that are actually in charge of this child labor. So what do you think that the government should do? What role should the government play to reduce child labor? Well,
there have been some kind of strengthening the enforcement, to also address most of this situation of child abuse, labor, and thereby, there have been a state level committee, even currently in Nigeria, trying to talk it out. You understand? I recall last year, where I think in Lagos State, where there was an enforcement sent by the Lagos State government, to go around any child that is not in school, should be apprehended, should be captured, and they should trace the parents of that child or the guardians, and that parents or the guardians should be arrested. Why? Because the Lagos state government, the public schools there, that is the government schools, they are free. Yeah, I think also
it's almost all the states.
Yes, almost all the states. I think almost all the states. Okay, yes.
Is free education as well.
It is a thing that should really be questioned, that a guardian or a parent should answer question on. Why is this child not in school when the government has provided free education for every child? You understand? Yeah. So I think Lagos has started that enforcement. You understand? Okay. Tracing every parents or guardians who has enabled their child or their siblings go about the street, hawking, breaking firewood when their mates are in school or their mates are engaging in one or two activities that will brighten their future. You understand? That is one. There's another national steering committee, for coordinating effort between government, ministry, for the NGOs, that is enabling monitoring of people who maltreat children. You understand? Because it's what's happening. Even as we speak, there are so many homes. Children are being maltreated. When I mean maltreated, terribly. We've had cases of recently, I think there was one in I think somewhere in the east in Anambra State, where a woman took iron and burnt a girl, a very young man, I think age 9 or so, yes, and burnt her on a rim. Yeah. You understand? And it was so hectic. Why? Because she left the child, that is her own child, to go and attend to one or two activities, and she was crying.
Sometimes I wonder if these women actually go through labor pain, because if you feel pains of giving birth to a child, you will not want to maltreat another person's child.
That is why I use myself for an example. You understand? When you are not, when some child don't find themselves in the in proper care of their own parents, this is what they face. You understand? So that is why all these committees, that is why the government is trying to create all these committee, all these organizations, to be able to go around, hear from the voices of children who are capable of speaking out, so that their voice will not be hidden, will not be thrown under the carpet. You understand? So with the help of this committee, with the help of this government enforcement, definitely, you understand, it will take proper shape in our country.
Thank you so much, Ojalo.
Thank you so much, Cassie.
You agree with me, poverty is the main cause of child labor.
Yes,
and I think parents should really take thorough investigations to know before releasing their child to anybody.
And it's not even advisable. It's not even advisable.
Irrespective of whether the person is blood related or not. You need to really investigate, because some of these people come to the house, carry your child, and they maltreat them, which is very, very wrong.
So it's not even advisable for a child to just leave the child to any individual, be it uncle and auntie. But going for a visit is normal, but just leaving them,
just go and come back to your house.
Not advisable, not in this current economy.
All right, thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you. So we've come to the end of the show, Bridging the Gap. Many thanks for watching, and it's a bye for now.